Irish legends from the Legends of Ireland. And I know we've been enjoying some of the other stories from this book. Tonight we're up to the 6th story in the book, which is called The King of the Dark Desert. Here we are, and this legend has a quote beneath the title, which says, "On my wrist a falcon, at my horse's heels a dog." Are you comfortable? Great. Unbeknown to his father, the King of Connacht's only son rode out one fine morning on his black horse. He was a capricious and independent young man who liked to go his own way. Seated by one of the bushes that grew on the hillside, the young man saw an old grey-haired man who addressed him thus: "Son of a king, I would like to know if you can play as well as you can sing." Thinking that the old man was an idiot, the young prince dismounted and threw the reins over a hawthorn branch. "Shall we play?" asked the old man, taking out his cards. "Whatever you will," said the prince. On this page has a colourful image of the old man and the prince. There aren't too many images in this book, so it's nice to see when they show up. "Good. If I win, you must do what I ask of you. If you win, I do the same," said the old man. "Agreed," said the prince. The prince won the game. "What do you wish me to do, young sir?" "I do not think you can do very much." "Choose, nevertheless. I have never lost a game without paying my forfeit." "Then take off my stepmother's head and give her a goat's head in its place." "It shall be done," said the old man. The young prince continued his ride over the moor, singing and humming as he went. On his return to the castle, he heard all around him groans and muffled laughter. A sorcerer had come and had given the queen the head of a goat. "By my troth," cried the prince, "I wish I had been there. I would have given him something to think about." The king, who was very, very angry, sent for the blind druid, his counsellor, who said his own knowledge was insufficient to cope with the situation. The young prince did not falter, and the next morning he went out, as usual, on his fine black horse, with the same song on his lips: "On my wrist a falcon, at my horse's heels a dog." Seated no higher than a bush on the side of the combe was the greybeard who proposed a second game with the same conditions, to which the prince agreed. This time the old man was the winner, and when the prince asked him what his price would be, he said, I am the king of the dark desert. 1 year and 1 day from now, you must come to my palace. If you do not, I will come to you, and you will lose your life. The young prince mounted his horse and made his way back home, but this time he did not sing. The king noticed his sadness. He himself was sad at the queen's misfortune, but 7 times more so for the sadness of his son. The prince, seeing this, told him the whole story. The blind druid was consulted, but knew not what to say, and could not tell them where to find the king of the dark desert. At the end of the week, the queen regained her human head, but someone was indiscreet enough to tell her what had really happened. She became violently angry and banished her stepson from the castle with this sweet farewell: "Never come back, dead or alive." On the Monday morning, the prince bade farewell to his father, buckled on his travelling bag, mounted his fine black horse, and went off with a falcon on his wrist and a dog at his heels, but neither humming nor singing. When night fell, seeing no cottage in the vicinity, he entered a wood and sat at the foot of a great oak tree. He was opening his bag of provisions when he saw a huge eagle alight beside him. "Your father is my friend, young prince. He has told me of your sadness at heart and your search. Let us strike a bargain. Give me your horse to feed my 4 eaglets, and I will carry you further than your horse would have done, perhaps to the one you seek. I do not want to part with my fine black horse, but if it is to feed your hungry eaglets, I will gladly do it." "I am pleased to see you so generous, young prince," said the eagle, and, opening up his enormous talons, he closed them over the horse's loins and carried it off with the 4 hooves dangling as though it were a sheep. Next morning, the sunrise had scarcely touched the hills when the eagle descended with a great flapping of its wings and said, "We have a lot of air to drink today. Buckle on your bag and jump on my back. But alas, I shall have to leave my hound and my falcon." "Have no fear, young prince. They will be here when you return." The prince mounted the broad feathered back of the eagle, which flew over hills and valleys, over forests and lakes, and even the boundless ocean. At sunset they came down into a vast desert. "Follow that track," said the eagle, "and it will lead you to the house of a friend. Farewell, I am going back home to feed my eaglets." The prince, who was only too happy to stretch his legs, soon saw the outline of a house in the half-darkness. He went in. An old grey-haired man, who was sitting in the chimney corner, rose and said to him, "1,000 welcomes, Prince of Connacht." "Greetings, old man. They say you are a friend of my family, but I do not know you." "I knew your grandfather. Come sup with me. I will not refuse." The old man clapped his hands. 2 servants brought in a dish of assorted meats and plenty of bread for the hungry prince. When his guest had eaten his fill, the old man said, "I know whom you seek, but first sleep, while I look through my parchments and think how I may help you find the king of the dark desert." The prince was taken to his room, where he passed the night in a sound sleep. The next morning the old man said, Be quick and rise. Before noon you must be 200 leagues from here. I am a good horseman, but I cannot cover that distance. I will see that you have the right horse." And with this the old man brought him a white pony, which was not much to look at, and told him to leave the bridle untouched on the horse's neck. "When he stops," the old man continued, "look into the air, and you will see 3 swans as white as snow. They are the 3 daughters of the king of the dark desert. One of them will have a green towel in its beak. No other creature on earth can take you to the dwelling you seek. When the swans come to land on the shore of the lake, they will change into young women who will play and dance in the water. Do not lose sight of the green towel which they will leave on the shore. Take it and hide it under a bush, and when the girls come out of the water, 2 of them will turn back into swans and fly away. The 3rd, who will be concerned at losing the towel, will say, 'I will do anything in the world for the one who brings me back my towel.' Then go to her and tell her that you wish only one thing, that she shall lead you, the son of a powerful king, to the house of her father." Everything happened as the old man had predicted. When the young prince returned the towel to the bather and told her what he required, she blushed and asked, "Are you sure that is all you want from me?" "Quite sure," said the young man. "Then I will show you the palace you seek, but I beg you never to tell my father that it was his daughter that led you to him. Rather say it was the magic you possess, and I will be a good friend to you." "I will do as you wish." Then, having changed back into a swan, she said, "Jump on my back and hold on tightly." She flapped her wings as though out of joy, and they flew over mountains and valleys, red roofs and green fields. As the sun was setting, the swan alighted on the grass and said, "Do you see that huge building? That is my father's palace. Good luck, and when you are in danger, be calm, for I shall be with you." The prince was taken into the house, and whom do you think he found sitting in the golden throne? Why, the old greybeard who had beaten him at cards. "I see that you have found me, young prince, and at the right time. When did you leave your father's house?" "This morning. As I was getting out of bed, I saw a rainbow and climbed to its top, after which I had only to slide down the other side to your palace. By my troth, that is a skilful feat. If I wished, I could even do better." "We shall see," said the king of the desert. "You have 3 tests to take. If you succeed, you must marry one of my daughters. If you fail, you will die, like many young men before you." "Proceed," said the prince, without flinching. "In my house we eat and drink but once a week, and our meal time was this morning while you were still sleeping." "I care not," said the prince, "since I can fast for a month at a time." "Good," said the king, "and doubtless you can also go without sleep." "Quite easily." "Let me then show you your bed." He took him to the foot of a huge forked tree and said, "Go up into the fork and be ready at sunrise." The prince obeyed, but soon as the old king was asleep, his daughter came to the prince. She took him into a beautiful room which was carpeted with animal furs, and in which one could sleep luxuriously. As soon as the old king began to rub his eyes at dawn the next morning, she led the young man back to the fork of the tree. "Rise, young man," said the king, "and I will show you your task for today." He took him to the shore of a lake on which stood an old castle. Demolish this castle and throw all the stones into the lake before sunset. The young prince set to work, but the stones, which time had set and sealed, were as one. He sat down under the dark postern, holding his head in his hands. He felt a cool touch on his brow and heard the soft voice of his friend asking, "Why are you so troubled?" And the young man told her what he had to do. "Have no fears. First, regain your strength, and then we will do it together." She had brought fresh new bread, prime cooked beef, and strong wine. With her wand, she touched the old castle, which subsided before their eyes, and their only task was to throw the stones into the water. "One thing more," she reminded him before disappearing. "Not a word to my father of the help I have given you." At sunset the old king came to find the young prince. "I see that you have accomplished your task." "I have indeed," said the prince, and he added with perfect truth, "It was not difficult. In fact, it was a pleasure." The old king now had a high opinion of his magic powers and said, "If that is so, your task for tomorrow will be to take all the stones out of the lake without leaving one, and to rebuild the castle exactly as it was. Meanwhile, go back to the fork of your tree." He led him to it and bade him be ready again at daybreak. But as soon as he had gone, his daughter arrived and took the prince to his sleeping place of the night before. She kept him there until break of day, when she took him back to his tree. "It is time to begin," cried the old king as soon as the sun had peeped over the horizon. The prince yawned and stretched like one who had slept to his heart's content. "I am in no hurry," he said. "I know what I have to do, to the last stone." He strolled down to the shore of the lake, but the water was so deep and so dark that he sat down, held his head in his hands, and gazed at it with anxious eyes. Soon he felt cool hands, the hands of his friend, on his eyelids, and heard her voice ringing softly in his ears. "Why are you so troubled?" The young man told her of his second task. "Have no fears. First, restore your strength, and then we will do it together." She had brought more fresh bread, red beef, and strong wine. With her wand she touched the dark water, which boiled and cast up all the stones without exception, and their only task was to put them together again. When the king came to him that evening and found him on his feet, he said, "I see you have done your work for today." "I have," the prince said in a casual tone, "with the greatest ease and with the greatest pleasure." The old king concluded that the prince's magic powers were superior to his own. He led him back to his tree for the night, but as soon as the king had retired, his daughter, who the prince now knew was called White Shoulder, came to find him as before, and awoke him at dawn the next morning. At sunrise the old king came to the tree and said, "Come now, and I will tell you your task for today. Here is a well 20 feet in circumference and 100 feet deep. The legions of hell are down there guarding my grandmother's ring. It is this ring I want." The prince, deep in thought, walked round and around the well. He sought out White Shoulder and told her his task. "It is the last," she said, "but even for me it is the hardest. Nevertheless, I will do what I can to save you. First, eat and drink." While the young man was eating and drinking, his friend transformed herself into a black-throated diver and disappeared beneath the fountain. After some moments, which seemed very long to the prince, he saw smoke and lightning from the agitated water, and finally heard a burst of thunder, which swelled the waters of the well, casting them up into the white walls. Between them, White Shoulder was walking with a golden ring in her hand, which she gave to her friend. It was a hard struggle with the powers of darkness, and my little finger is broken, but the battle is won. Your life is safe. When my father comes, beware of giving him the ring. Yours is the right of command. Hold him to his word to give you one of his daughters. He will ask you to choose between us in a room which has grating in the middle of the door, into which we shall all put our right hand. You must choose the one with the broken finger, and seeing this, my father will give his consent. You are my heart's desire, White Shoulder. That evening the old king came to see if the young prince had recovered the ring. Of course, I had a fine struggle with an army of demons, but I could have defeated them 10 times more. Did you not know that I come from Connacht? Give me the ring, commanded the old king. In a word, I shall not. It is for you to give me my bride as you promised you would. So be it, said the king, and he showed him into his palace, where all took place as White Shoulder had predicted. I shall have this one with her dowry, said the prince, showing the king the hand which had the broken little finger. There has been no talk of dowry between us that I know of, said the king. All that you will have is a swift brown pony to take you as quickly as possible out of my sight, and may I never see you again, dead or alive. Into the saddle and away with you. They asked nothing better. In 3 hours the brown pony took them to the edge of the forest, where the prince, still tired, had left the eagle, his dog, and his falcon. The eagle had been generous, for there too was his fine black horse. The prince was only too glad to see him, but he was even more glad to be bringing his wife back with him. With his 4 friends round him, the adventurous young man returned home with the same song on his lips. On my wrist a falcon, at my horse's heels a dog, my wife before me on my saddle bow.